Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Welcome to DBR Racing Products, the leader in 3D modeling and innovations. Since 2015, they have been revolutionizing the industry, starting with their groundbreaking YFZ 450R battery boxes. But they didn't stop there. They have continued to push the boundaries, constantly improving their design with each new version. In 2018, they introduced the game-changing Vortex EXO cage, specifically designed to securely hold the Vortex ECU in a safe and sturdy location. This breakthrough innovation ensures your ECU stays protected even in the toughest racing conditions. At DBR, they understand that every detail matters. That's why they also offer an array of essential products to enhance your racing experience. Their spark plug hold downs keep your engine firing at peak performance, while their LTR breather boxes ensure optimal ventilation for your machine. Their LT250 engine skid plates are a must-have for those seeking unmatched protection. Engineered to shield your engine from impacts and rough terrain, they provide the ultimate defense for your ATV. But that's not all. They've developed ProPeg mounts that allow you to use TRX 450R Nerf bars, giving you greater control and maneuverability on the track. To explore their full range of innovative products and learn more about DBR Racing, visit their website at www.dbratv.com. You can also reach them directly at 507-828-1233. Their knowledgeable team is ready to assist you with any questions or inquiries. DBR Racing Products, where innovation meets performance. Unleash the power within you. The Dirt Wheels crew, welcome to ATV Talk. I thank you guys so much. Jeff Hensen, sorry about that, Jeff, messed up your name, and Cain Smead. You guys are working for an iconic portion of the off-road ATV industry, three-wheelers, UTVs. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy days to grace me with your presence. I really appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, well, one of the things that, Jeff and I talk occasionally, and one of the things that he brought up is the fact that the younger people and some of the people that are mainly, Jeff, how would I bring this across? More internet guys don't have all the history, don't understand where your guys' history comes from. And I'd really like to get into a little bit of that. How long Dirt Wheels has been around, and where do you guys get some of your stories and find ways to get the content that you guys put out?
Yeah, well, Dirt Wheels has been around since the early 80s. It's actually a really cool time right now because not only are we covering the brand new quads, the brand new side-by-sides that are kind of taking over, we've really ramped up covering three-wheelers and covering we bring back old articles that we have in our archives. But just like always, people come to us and they want us to feature their builds or their rides or things like that. So we really get a lot of content from the readers.
Is that always been that way?
It's always been that way. Yeah. I mean, a good portion of our content, the ideas will come from a reader, or it's a submitted article from a reader, or photos, of a reader's machine. If the photos aren't good, but the bike is really good, then we'll go meet up with them and shoot them. If we don't necessarily test it, but if we're going to throw a leg over it, we'll take the photos and print them in the magazine.
That's pretty awesome stuff. I know that with the onset of the internet, the paper magazine has suffered. But when I talk to everybody in my little circle, they love the magazines. Are the subscriptions going up, or are they going down, or are they staying level?
The subscriptions are level. They've gone up and down in the past. Right now, we did just get rid of one title, our UTV Action magazine. So it's combined with Dirt Wheels. So we have a steady subscription base of about 50,000 subscribers. So 50,000 people getting it in their mailbox and every month.
Is there an active process of how you, because I know I'm a little bitty spec media company that specializes in a certain thing, and Dirt Wheels is a huge portion of my life in what I do in my other business, and how we get out more people to, how do we get more people that we can reach out to with Dirt Wheels? How do we do this? Jeff, let's hear you.
Just to go back on what you were just talking about, I can't even, when I go to the grocery stores, I can't even find Dirt Wheels on the stands. It was there. I see all of our other magazines, which include Dirt Bike, Motocross Action, Mountain Bike Action. And in my area where I live, there's a lot of ATVs and UTVs. So it seems to be selling just fine here. And I hear the same from other people. I also know that we had a sand issue. I think it was October, November, that we had at the Sand Sport Super Show. And that particular magazine, as far as ad sales, outsold Motocross Action, which hadn't, to my understanding, hadn't happened in the last 12 years. I don't know. Is that correct, Cain?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think things are actually looking up. I think we've had 2023 was actually a pretty good year. And let me just say that I've only been here for the last year. I started the end of December last year. So I'm going to let Cain answer a lot of these questions as far as the history of Dirt Wheels goes. My history is with several other magazines and online publications concerning ATVs and UTVs.
Well, I'm going to ask both you the same question. And we'll start with you, Jeff. Your history in the ATV industry from the media side, where does your background come from, and how long have you been doing it?
For me, it started when I was racing. I was racing in the 90s. I was racing desert mostly locally. I was racing works. Well, I was in the 2000s, but I was also racing the Baja 1000 series and Best in the Desert back in the 90s. And actually, it was a writer or an editor for Four Wheel Action magazine, which is also, part of Dirt Wheels, that saw me writing some of my adventure stories on America Online, if anybody remembers that. And it was, I think you guys know this guy, it was Bill Lanfear, WBGO, from way back. He was the one that discovered me online. We ended up hooking up at the dunes. And I think Bill was approached for an editor job with another publication called ATV Illustrated. And he turned him down, but he turned him on to me, and that's where it all started. And I got my foot in the door. I was working for free, writing free articles, went out and bought a camera and everything, and just wanted to be part of the industry. And one thing led to another. It became a career. And since then, I've worked for ATV Magazine. You might remember ATV Sport Magazine. It's been, well over a decade since ATV Sport was around. I worked for a few TV shows concerning trail riding, ATVs, UTVs, dirt bikes. And then I was working for ATV Rider most recently when Cain and I just happened to be talking through the internet. And there was an opening, and here I am at Dirt Wheels.
Cain, how did you get tied into being a media guy?
Well, back in the mid 90s, I was racing a little bit, mostly the super lights in the Mickey Thompson Stadium series. I'd already raced quads and kind of moved on to cars. And Dennis Cox, the old editor, lived in my town and started using me for photo shoots and testing on new ATVs. I did that for about 5 years for free. Just showed up and rode, and probably bought those guys lunch, and went to a couple races. I think I raced a couple of your guys' quads in some desert races. And then the magazine was really booming around the year 2000. And then they hired me as a associate editor. So then I started actually testing products and writing small reports on like new products, and a handlebar or a tire or there was a lot of like filter lids and exhaust pipes. I did a lot of exhaust shootouts and things like that when I first started. It's funny you ask, because it's the job that Jeff and I are both seeking associate editors right now to come on board, because we are growing a little bit from what we were a couple of years ago, and we could use some assistant editors, one in my hometown of Boise, Idaho, and one in the Phoenix area. So we're actively searching for those kind of young and hungry people that want to be involved in the ATV, UTV media world.
That's awesome that it's growing like that. Do you guys feel that ATVs in a whole are still a very active sport?
Definitely. I mean, they're definitely, if you go to any riding area, they're still out there. There's tons of, you go to Glamis, there's tons of Banshees and 250Rs. We just did an article on a 250R takeover that happened in the Oregon dunes a few months back, and that thing was crowded. I went to Dune Fest over the summer, and that event was, there was a ton of ATVs out there. So yeah, ATVs are still a big part of it.
Do you see 4 strokes and 2 strokes, or have the vintage machines started taking back over?
It's not, wouldn't say any one is bigger than the other. You see everything, and you always shake your head. You go, wow, there's a guy still riding a 230, or there's a guy riding, a Banshee that is bone stock. And you're like, how did that last that long bone stock? but yeah, you see everything.
All right, that's so cool. Has the UTV industry affected your ATV enthusiast that much?
I don't know. It sounds like it has. I mean, they're the diehard ATV guys or ATC guys. They gripe about the UTVs, but who knows? I mean, some people do say the trails are getting rougher because of the high horsepower vehicles and things like that. And I see it where I ride. I avoid the busy places where the high horsepower UTVs are. Unless I need to test something that I want to test, like those people ride. But I search out the smoother areas, and but maybe in the Midwest where you can only go to one riding park that's within 100 miles of your place, that's all you have to do. So they can complain about UTVs tearing up their trails.
Well, they
I've been hearing
Go
I've
ahead,
been
Jim.
hearing a lot lately, talking to some of the major manufacturers, that in some markets around the country, UTV sales are starting to taper off and trending downward. And machines such as the Can-Am 500 and 700, the Outlanders, which were new last year, those machines are doing very well in sales because they're at a very affordable price, decent power, good suspension setup. I kind of am optimistic that there's a trend where they're going to be bringing back some of those lower cost machines, so more people in the lower middle class, people like us, can actually afford some of these things. So it'll be interesting to see what the next couple of years do. Hopefully there's a sport quad in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm almost done giving up, other than some of the stuff that you see coming out of China. I don't see a Japanese manufacturer bringing a sport quad back anytime soon. You guys have a better feel for it and a better touch than I do. But any of for a while there, I was hearing rumblings of a 450, rumblings, and then it went dark.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm kind of like you too. I've given up on trying and even bringing it up. Will it happen? I don't know, but I'm actually kind of just become more content with having the YFZ 450 and the Raptor if you want something brand new. But like you and I spoke, what was it, a week or so ago, everything is out there for the 250R and some of these other vintage machines that you can rebuild. I think it's very rewarding to build your own machine, bring one of those back to life, update it with modern technology like new suspension, guys like you that can rebuild the engines. In fact, I know Cain and I both have our own 250R builds in the works right now. And I'm just as happy on that old 87 250R as I ever was on anything new. So there are sport quads out there. There's answers out there. As far as the racing community goes, I guess maybe they're going to have to change some of the production rules. Maybe we can bring some of that old stuff back in. I think the crowds would show up to see the old vintage machines at the track. So
Have you guys seen the announcement from Briarcliff?
Oh, about the MX race of Legends.
Yep, the Legends MX race.
Yeah, invite only.
Yep.
I didn't get an invite, so I don't know. But no, I did see that. That's pretty cool. Hopefully it's well attended.
Yeah, we're quietly trying to work something out for one of our guys, and see if we can make it happen and get him a machine. I don't know if it'd be 4-stroke or 2-stroke. We haven't crossed that exact bridge yet, but we're still trying to put the pieces together. I think that Jeremy Osborne is a bright light in race promotion in our industry, and I really appreciate everything that he does there at Briarcliff.
Yeah, anything that just brings something new to the series, because I mean it really is a shame that Rip It Up Films is kind of the only one really paying attention to ATV motocross at the moment. I know when I was younger and liked race and ride tracks, I went to a lot of races just because I wanted to. But life happens, and we don't have a young guy on staff that wants to go do that stuff, or else we would cover more in the magazine also.
Yeah, it's very difficult for myself. I mean, I used to travel to all of the West Coast stuff, and I came from back east as well, traveling back there, but it's very difficult to do the amount of work that we do in my other job and then roll into what we do here in ATV-TALK, and then to find the time to travel. I mean, the recent story we dropped on YouTube, and I call it a story, you guys call it a video, it's a video story on three-wheelers. That actually was 7 months later than it was supposed to be, due to life.
Yeah. Yep.
And that being said, one of the comments that I heard about was that, where do you guys come off writing some of the stories you have with your lack of experience? And I don't know how they could say that if they know who you guys are and all the years that you've spent doing this and the different things that you've done. Because Cain, I know that you've not only raced 2 strokes, 4 strokes, you've driven multiple different UTVs. Jeff has been doing a number of different things as well, because I've seen some of his stuff. Is there a way to convey to the reader that you guys do have the credentials to be in the positions you're in?
Well, sure. I mean, a journalist covers a sport. I mean, it doesn't mean, like you think about Formula One. Formula One drivers aren't covering the sport. There are guys covering the sport that have never been in a Formula One car. It's a journalist should wrap a story around, the facts of the machine, or some interesting tidbits about it. We can't, we can write a story about a 83 Tri-Z 250, but have never owned one or ridden one. So it's just, we have to write about a lot of different things, and yeah, we're not necessarily experts on everything, but we try to get some insight from experts like a guy like you on, say we're talking about a Quadzilla 500. We could get some quotes from you about, how many, like the problems engines have, or something like that, or talk to a guy that raced them a little bit. So, we write about everything and do the best we can. Can't say we're perfect on it, but we definitely have been doing a darn good job for decades.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what comment you're talking about, Lenny, but I'm going to guess it came from a guy who rides 3-wheelers strictly, because they are some of the most passionate people about what they write. And if you get one little thing wrong, even a misspelled word, which amazes me that somebody on a 3-wheeler is an actual grammar Nazi to one of us, they come after you. And I admire that passion. But having worked for other publications, I can tell you that High Torque, Dirt Wheels, everybody that's on this staff is an enthusiast first. And we came into this from that background, and then pretty much learned how, the writing and the photography and video as we came into this career. So I can also say that I did see a comment similar to every time we put up an article about an electric ATV or UTV, we see that stuff. Suddenly we're woke, or they don't want to see that stuff. And honestly, we are not trying to push EVs on anybody. It's just another option. It's a way to maybe bring motocross tracks back into the city because you eliminate the sound. We're just looking at anything to get sport machines, back up to where they used to be in the early 2000s. So that's what our whole effort is there. We're not trying to push something new on you, or, climate change or whatever it is. So
how cool. Joe Tully is the one we were talking to him, and he was the one that was talking about the electric motorcycle race park or riding park in your neighborhood. And if it's electric, how can the neighbors complain? The baseball game's louder than the electric motorcycle. And if you have
Right.
an EV park where you have three-wheeler or four-wheelers, go-karts, motorcycles, you have skateboard parks. You can't tell me that those are safer than, a two-wheeler.
Yeah, and I've tried to explain that to people, and they go right back to, well, what about the dust? And what about, and well, there are ways you can control the dust, but they just start, throwing reasons to me why we can't have these things coming back into the city, why it won't work. And I'm just like, do you work for the Sierra Club or something? I don't know what's going on here. You're making these crazy excuses. Let's at least try it.
They're government
I don't want
employees.
to take. If anything, I would much rather have two-stroke ATVs coming back, fuel injected two-stroke ATVs even, but we're just looking at options. We're not woke. We're just a bunch of enthusiasts writing about something we love.
Cain, in your area, is the EV-TALK very, very a big thing?
No, not really. It's not as big as it is down south. I mean, and in California, I heard something about, a friend of mine has a landscaping business, and he says, I'm shutting it down after the next year because I'm not dealing with battery lawnmowers and battery, trenchers and all the stuff he's got to go through. So it's not that big up here yet. I don't even see electric things other than, maybe a chainsaw or a impact wrench or something.
Yeah, they're going to struggle. They're going to kill a lot of industries with trying to make them EV because the technology is not there to do it, and the education for it is not put out there correctly for the consumer base to really understand how expensive it is to charge all this stuff, and that your charging station is, when you're charging your EV car, it's like robbing the power from 20 homes.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that.
Yeah. But, an electric ATV or even dirt bike, there's a place for it. I don't think it'll take over, or it doesn't need to take over, but there is a place for them, like you said, in the cities or sound sensitive areas. It would be great. I mean, I'd love to go ride up in the forest, even on some 50-inch quad trails in total silence, just to see what kind of animals are out there. Or, just it wouldn't deter me a bit.
Yeah, it's a good option for hunters, ATVs.
Great
and
option.
UTVs. For us on the sports side, the only reason we bring it up is just for that reason. Plus the insane amount of torque you get out of, the electric motors and horsepower. That Stark-Varg dirt bike makes upwards of 80 horsepower. Yeah, the range isn't there, but for motocross, it's decent. So for us, it's just it's all about power and torque. It has nothing to do with, I mean, I love the planet, but it has nothing to do with saving the planet or any of that, feel good stuff. It's about performance. So, and it's just another option. I don't think EVs will ever take over fuel. And if anything, maybe hydrogen power would be something. I know all 4 Japanese manufacturers plus Toyota are working on hydrogen motors for small engines. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in the future.
They're gonna change something. I don't think it's because they need to. I think it's because it's been ingrained in the world now that there's this climate issue caused by fossil fuels, and that's not at all the truth.
Yeah, somebody's making a lot of money.
There's no proof of it, even though they say that 97% of the scientists have said with, you know, the talking points. But that's off topic a little bit. I really want to delve into the future of dirt wheels, and where do you see you guys going in 2024? I know that there's a lot of great new, there's some great 4x4 stuff coming out from Polaris and Can-Am. You also have new models of your UTV. Yamaha is our only sport quad, but there's some Japanese small bikes that are bouncing around a little bit, you know, for your mid-level guys in the ATV industry. That's also a little rumblings that we've been talking about. So where do you think Dirt Wheels is going to go with those topics?
Well, more more coverage of sport, vintage, more video on all that, more social, more of everything. We're gonna keep trucking along, and we're gonna dig up, you know, if anybody is thinking about building a new sport quad, we're gonna help them along. We're gonna try to push that as much as possible. Hopefully it'll be for that entry level rider, because we've lost a lot of those models. And I mean, that's the important customer. The racer can buy a YFZ, the dooner or the high speed trail rider can buy a Raptor, but we want the teenager or the son of the guy who likes to ride. We need those guys to buy and be excited about a new ATV.
Yeah, because hybrids aren't going to do it. You're not going to get a guy to buy a hybrid.
Right. I mean, that's a great concept, but it's just not practical for the average Joe that needs to go buy something for $5,000 or $6,000 and go ride on the weekends.
Yeah, the Honda needs to bring back that 400EX or a 300EX that's non-shaft drive. You know, even if they could go fuel injected. They have the technology. They could easily produce that, and they already have the fixtures. And I'll bet you they still have overruns of that stuff that they could convert.
Yeah, who knows? It boggles the mind that Honda doesn't produce the 400EX anymore, or the 450.
Yeah,
I would say,
Jeff,
and the youth models are actually getting updates. You see a lot more youth ATVs for even the 6 and up crowd, 10 and up, 12, 14 and up crowd. They're actually getting features like electronic fuel injection, which they did not have, you know, a couple of years ago. Everything was carbureted, very old technology. So there is something going on there. And I guess the newest example would be the Yamaha Grizzly 110 that just came out with the EFI. And there's several from Polaris. I think Can-Am has a couple of models that have EFI for youth. So there is some movement down at the bottom, the youth models.
I was out. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys saw the video. I have a post loaded up for later in the week, but Jet Lawrence and Hunter Lawrence were riding TRX 90s on a little contest thing they did with Alpine Stars. I mean, boy, it'd be great if you could, you get some ambassador like that to give some momentum to the ATV sport. That'd be cool.
Oh, those TRX 90s are the best pit bikes ever, man. Everybody loves them. They displaced the LT80.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I know some people that would argue with you on that. So
that's okay. Everybody's got their, it's just like the ATC 70 crowd, man. Those guys are fanatics.
Yeah.
I mean, it just to the extreme nutball fanatics. And I love what they do, but man, it's not the end all be all, guys. It's really not.
Yeah. Well, and those, the clean ATC 70 costs more than a TRX 90, brand new.
Right. I mean, I have 4 LT80s in my shop, for my grandkids. And by the time I get them done, my grandkids are going to be too big to ride them.
Yeah.
I just keep collecting jobs, and I'm just shaking my head going, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I still have to do all the work that's out there, unreal.
Yeah.
Anybody that tells you that ATVs are dead, they're sorely mistaken. My side job, the company that owns ATV-TALK, which is my company, not my brother's, I have enough work for the year already in 2024, and I'm not taking jobs of my own. My brother is filling the spots where I would find my own customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I get talking to you guys and some of the other performance builders that are still very busy with vintage stuff. I wrote an article, it was in one of our recent issues, about Lone Star Racing and, them producing bearing carriers and suspension parts, frames. They can't keep up with demand on that vintage stuff. And even the week that I was there, they sold 3 Banshee frames, Lone Star Banshee frames. So, when I was there also, I mean, there was just racks of bearing carriers, 250R axles, Banshee parts everywhere. They were punching this stuff out while I was there. And as I was doing the tour with them, I said, yeah, we can't keep up with this stuff. Everything you see here is already spoken for. We're just trying to get this stuff out. So sport ATVs are very much still in demand, especially that vintage stuff. And again, I'm kind of content seeing that happen. I love those old machines. Let's keep them alive. And I think the aftermarket, like you guys, are doing a very good job of making that happen.
I would like to say we are, but we are working 7 days a week, and I don't know what happened with you guys during the sickness time, but we were busy.
We went riding.
Yeah, we were busy.
Yeah.
Before that happened, we were busy, and we haven't slowed down technically, work wise. Phone sales are always up and down, but just the sheer amount of people sending complete builds or engines, it's off the charts. We've been doing this almost 50 years, and I know I'm not trying to make it to talk about that kind of stuff, but we've never been busier.
That's great. Well,
That's
hopefully
great.
Those articles in Dirt Wheels and your advertising has helped that.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say, I just finished up an article today of one of your builds, actually.
Nice.
For Jason Blunt, who you personally had a hand in on that machine. I heard you put a lot of extra work in on that one, and
I built that machine. I built that machine complete. It was so I'll just tell the story. It was mine. That was going to be my bike. Jeff, you and I spoke that we were going to go out and race works again, and had all visions of grandeur, right? And Mr. Blunt had called me on the phone and had bought some parts for another machine that he has, and he was asking about building a machine for his son. And then the conversation went from building a machine for his son to building a machine for himself, and he asked me what I rode. And I go, well, I ride whatever's available, because usually what I'm building for myself never ends up being mine. And I explained to him what I was building, told him all the concept by it. And he goes, so what bank do I send my deposit to? So Mr. Blunt purchased the machine from me before he even seen a picture of it or the color concept. And he goes, I don't care. He says, what you've described to me is what I want. And what you have in the magazine there is what it all, that was my vision all along. It has a roll swing arm, which is almost unheard of today.
Very rare. Yeah.
From the TRX 450R.
Yeah, that's a big part of the article, that we do mention that, how rare those are.
Yeah, there's some pieces on there that, the oil cooler setup that we sell for the 450Rs on there, the dual fan radiator, that anybody can build some of this stuff, but it's just some of the little things that I did for myself. These were all things that I put on all the race bikes. It's got a digital temp gauge on it with an hour meter, so that you're always being able to monitor everything, how it's all working. I was really satisfied. That was one of the machines that you hang your hat on, that you'll remember for forever. That's one of those builds that
it was really cool talking to Jason too, because I know he has a Raptor. I talked to him today actually to finish up the story, just getting his impressions of it. He had a side-by-side also. He bought it because he thought he was getting older and that's where he needed to be, and decided he was too young for that, and came back to that, bought this machine. He got the Raptor, and it was okay for him, but he wanted a 450. And then he was telling me that there in Louisiana, where he's from, he has a pretty good sized property, and he cut out a 3-mile motocross track for himself, which I think is where he's going to be doing a lot of the riding for this. And I know when he was younger, he didn't have the money to pay for a build like this. He didn't have the opportunities to race. But at 50, he'll be 50 next year, and he's looking at getting started in motocross racing there in the South. And I was just like, man, that is just a killer story. And I hear that a lot more lately, especially we talk with a lot of the other editors at the other publications. And yeah, side-by-sides got really, they're dominant, still are dominant. And a lot of the editors, that's where they've been spending most of their time. But then we ended up, ATVs, we got some new models coming out this last year or two. And we'd show up at intros, and a guy would hop on an ATV, go out and do a couple of laps, or go out on the trails and come back in. And the first thing they would out of their mouth was, I forgot how much fun these things were. I've been behind a steering wheel too long. So I think you'll see a lot of that. I did the same thing. I own a side-by-side also. I felt like I was getting older there and stuff. My hips went out, but after I got those replaced and got back up to speed, got my motion back and stuff, I went out and bought a 250R. I was like, I can go out and ride this thing again. And that's where my heart is. That's what I want to ride. So I think we'll be, hearing more and more stories like that going forward. And I think it'll be good for ATVs.
Let me throw this question at both of you, because both of you guys talk to manufacturers possibly at different times or different models. The story I'm being told is that there's no interest in ATVs. When you talk to these specific manufacturers, what do you tell them? Do you have any pull to say, dude, you guys do not have any data to support that?
Yeah, they don't really want to talk about it. They just said, they'll tell me that the side-by-sides is what's driving people to the showroom right now. That's about what I hear.
Man,
I heard from one of the Japanese manufacturers told me that if a new sport quad comes back, it will cost it's going to be around $13,000 for that machine. And they don't think people are going to want to pay for that. And my answer to that is, well, who would have thought people would want to pay $50,000 for, some of the newer side-by-sides that are coming out? Apparently there's a market for that. I think, for me personally, even back in the 90s, in 2000s, when we were still racing before 2004, when we were all racing 250Rs, we were putting 15 grand into our race machines back then, so I don't believe it. I just, I'm just going to wait and see. I think eventually something might happen.
It's $11,000 for a new 700 Raptor right now.
Right. Or a YFZ, same way. It's under $11,000.
Does anybody know what a new 450 dirt bike costs?
Yeah,
anywhere
10 to 15,000.
Yeah.
So they're full of shit.
Well, what they're not really. I mean, because the Yamaha Raptor and the YFZ.
What I was saying is, what I meant is, sorry to interrupt, Jeff, is that they're full of it because they're saying that nobody would pay 13 if you're
Oh,
paying
right. Yeah.
11 for something that I'm buying it because it's the only one, not because it's what I want.
Right.
So if
And I don't want to take anything away from Yamaha. I'd love to own a new YFZ 450R, and I may, along with my 250R here in the future. But I think the price difference where they're saying it's going to cost $13,000, you just got to keep in mind that the YFZ and the 450 or the YFZ and the Raptor have been around continuously, whereas to develop a new machine at this point, with inflation, it costs so much more. The government wants its cut, so they're going to have to pay for that some way. And so, yeah, a new 450, according to this one manufacturer that I talked to, said it would cost $13,000. And then the second part of what he told me that kind of surprised me was that if you can go out and find 1,000 of your friends that would pay that much, then we'll talk. I was like, that's all you want is 1,000 people to pay 13 grand for a new 450, fuel injection, whatever is updated. I don't see that being difficult.
Where do we go to place our orders?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start a petition.
Yeah, where would you like me to put my name on that list?
Yeah,
because I don't have the money, but I will buy one just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd even buy a freaking orange one.
If a fuel injected Honda 450 wide quad came out, I would buy one right now.
Yeah.
Just to have something new out there.
I would buy one just because I'm going to want to develop parts for it, A, but B, that's going to help the sport so much. I mean, it's going to kill my supply of Honda parts in my garage, but we'll get over that.
I think we're all on the same page. I don't understand it. I don't know what the reasoning is for saying there's no market for it, because we all see it. We see it in the comments on our website every day, So I don't know. I don't know if they're all just, still high on, the expensive side-by-side stuff or what, but I think they're missing a big portion of the market.
Joe Tully always says that they're chasing that Polaris money.
I know, and there may be some truth to
that. You know what? I could not justify in my heart to go buy a UTV. I've driven the Yamaha, I've driven a Polaris, I've driven a couple different Polarises. I've got to drive a Can-Am for a little bit, not enough to justify if it was a great car or not. Lauren won't let me drive his Talon because everything I drive I wreck, and I get that. I mean, I wouldn't let me drive it either, but they're no fun.
Right.
They're not as fun.
They're not as fun.
They are fun.
Okay, yeah, they are fun, but they're not. It's not. Like I don't get out of the car with a big ear-to-ear grin. Every time I get off that ATV, I got an ear-to-ear grin.
Yeah, and it's what's weird. It's not as easy to like dice with your buddies in a side-by-side, because like you rub tires, it could get catastrophic. But like an ATV, you could rub tires and on an ATV for lap after lap and have a blast.
Even in the sand dunes, I've been out there with my Talon, and I've been out there with various sport quads. I mean, the ability to take a quad up to the peak of a bowl and just take a look over the side, stand up, look over there, and using your body to as part of the machine rather than just sitting in it. That's part of the thrill with ATVs that you just don't get with side-by-sides. And I'm not trying to take anything away from all the side-by-sides and stuff, but they are different. And I understand why people prefer one or the other. I'll tell you this, when we're out shooting photos of either side-by-sides or ATVs, it's a lot easier to make an ATV look fast than it is a side-by-side in your photos.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So much more body English just hanging off the seat. I mean, God, It's exciting stuff. And now that my hips work again, I want to go out riding right now. Just talking about it.
Cain, do you do much mountain biking with where you live?
I do, yes, but I typically stay to the ski resort and take the chairlift up and then ride the single track down or the jump line down. I don't do a lot of pedaling.
Well, as big as I am right now, I probably would do the exact same thing. Uh, I used to, when I was riding all the time, the up was the fun for me. It was the pain that you had to go through to get there, to enjoy the down. At least that's what I told myself, so that I would do the ups.
Yeah.
Do you ride a conventional bike, or have you went to the electric mountain bike?
Yeah, conventional downhill mountain bike.
A heavier stance with like a 27.5 wheel or a 29?
It's a 29, and yeah, I mean, it's got good travel. I'm not sure all the specs on it. It's a Scott is the brand.
Okay.
But yeah, I usually just lift it on the chairlift and ride to the top and coast down. But you get a workout. It's cool. I mean, there's some pedaling. There's some cross country trails to do on it. But I did debate whether to get an e-bike, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I'm still pedaling and keep you in shape.
Yeah, I'm so torn for the amount of money they want for those bikes. It's just, maybe I watch too many videos where they're burning to the ground, when the batteries catch on fire.
Yeah, I'm not spending 10 grand on a e-bike. I would rather buy a new ATV or dirt bike for that price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say my mountain bike has a 500cc 4-stroke in it, so
that's the best way to do it, right? Guys, I don't know where the future of everything's going to go. I'm really hoping that a company, God, I'm going to choke on this. I'm really hoping a company like KTM would come through and build an ATV, even though they've publicly stated that they are a motorcycle company only. Only because we get 3 different machines out of it, and that would massively boost the industry to have, the blue, the orange, the red, and the white sitting on the starting line, even if it wasn't a Honda or a Suzuki or a Kawasaki.
yeah, it'd be nice to see a smaller manufacturer like Reju, which is a Spanish dirt bike company that bought the other half of gas that KTM didn't take, to see maybe somebody like that get into it. You also brought up, I know Joe's been pushing the KO deal. CF Moto is doing a lot of wild things on the ATV side, 4x4 ATV side. It would be interesting to see them try to maybe bring some kind of sport quad back. Anything. I think if we just got one, then you would see some of the other manufacturers, the main manufacturers, actually open their eyes and maybe say, okay, we need to get back into this too. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you see that new dirt bike company? I think it's called Cave or Cove. They came out with like a rally bike.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
they're decent. Yeah. There's some pretty wild startups out there that I don't know, they could really mix things up. Of course, it's all speculation. We don't know anything about that. So,
well,
or do we?
Is Triumph going to come out with a real dirt bike, race bike?
Yeah. I think it's already out, isn't it?
But did they form their team? Aren't they going to be in Supercross in 2024?
I believe so. Cain?
Yeah, 250 Supercross. I'm not sure actually who's riding it, but supposedly it'll be there.
Wow, that's amazing that the motorcycle industry is that big and strong to support that many different manufacturers.
Yeah, I think Beta has their 450 MX bike ready to go too, if it isn't already. That's what I ride. But yeah, there's another one. It is sickening, I think, for the fan of sport quads to when you go over and you look at all the different offerings that companies like Beta, Yamaha, KTM have, there's how many different versions of, you know, each bike and different displacements and stuff. It's like, why can't we just get one sport quad from you guys? You know,
They just
Yeah,
won't.
for
All we
sure.
want is
Just
one. We'll
just
do all
one.
the other. The industry will do all the other mods to it. You don't have to. We'll take care of that.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
a Suzuki, another Yamaha, Honda. That'd be great.
You know, molded after the Yamaha, 50 inches wide, whatever, and the rest of it we can adapt to. We always have. I think that the Raptor 700 is going to transition to your desert, the machine for the desert, as far as desert racing goes. Just because the motors are so strong, the suspension is not that far off. I don't think. I don't feel.
Yeah,
Your top speed with the thing is already better than your built 450s.
Yeah.
And you already have companies such as Elka and Roll building things for them, you know, to make them awesome. The gas tank's a bit expensive when you import it, because you have to import it. Nobody in the country makes one, and they are difficult
because
to get.
the fuel, because of fuel pump.
Yep. And it's the way that it adapts to the fenders changes it. You know, there's going to be some issues with that, but you know, we can there again, we've always adapted and overcome all of those kind of things. So once you put the gas tank on there, put the fuel pump in it, and now you have larger volume, and you can go 50 to 60, 70 miles on the thing before you need to fill up. Man, minor modifications to that engine, and it is a force. The chassis itself, when you put it in full dress with a carrier axle, shock, air intake, pipe, ECU, you know, set the bars, the stem. When you get it in all full, whether it's recreation or race dress, that is a sweet machine.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see. You know, I was around when everybody was racing 250Rs. I was around when they were doing 450s, mostly Hondas. And then if it changes over to Raptors, that will be interesting. And I did race one in the Baja 2000. You know, different era Raptor, but it was a good machine for the long distances.
Yeah, I spent 2 seasons racing Best in the Desert on the 660. I loved that platform. The 700 didn't catch on as fast. I don't know why, but it didn't. But for the recreational user, it did.
Yeah,
They're great machines.
Yeah, I prefer the 700 to the 660. And, you know, for the racer, though, why hasn't it caught on more with the Baja racers, Best in the Desert, when you see them all over Dakar?
well, yeah, well, the Honda 450 was just so good. It was hard to beat.
I'm just talking today. Why don't we see more Raptors in maybe GNCC racing or
development? Nobody's taken the time to develop it properly for GNCC. I think that you're going to see a change because we're limited on the machines that we can build. So you will see a change in that. You will see most likely a 700 Raptor in score next year.
Yeah.
In the premier class, built by a builder that has dominated that on a 450 for years.
Hey, speaking of big bore sport quads, I wanted to show you something that I found. Who is that on that trophy right there? On the KFX 700. This is back 2004 Work Series when we were all racing Production A. And I knew it was you because you're not wearing any gloves. I remember that about you back when we were racing. You just would not wear riding gloves.
I still don't, man. I still don't.
Yeah.
You know what? I wore gloves. I think I wore gloves for that 3-wheeler shoot. I'd have to go back and, you know, look and see. I think I did.
You had to look professional.
I don't think. when I rode up in Canada, I had to go ask the promoter if he cared if I rode with gloves. And he goes, "Oh, you won't make it 2 hours. It's too rough here to ride without gloves." I rode my whole time with no gloves. I got a 2-minute penalty in Pont-de-Vaux for no gloves.
Wow.
Yeah, they made me get off the bike, and I had to go take a pair of gloves and cut the insides out, so they would just go over your fingertips, and then go to the guy and say, "Hey," the steward, and say, "Will this be okay?" And he just shook his head and goes, "Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but
Yeah.
But I just have never, I've just never liked gloves, man. I don't know why. Never have.
You and Ivan Stewart, no gloves.
It's just like perfumes for girls, gloves are for girls. I mean, same thing. Guys, hey, I want to say thank you so much for you taking time out of your busy schedules. I know the magazine's got you hopping, with lots of different stories. If there's anything that ATV-TALK can ever do for Dirt Wheels, or you guys in particularly, please reach out to me. We'll be more than glad to, promote you guys anyway. You've done such an amazing job taking care of myself and my other line of work, that I am always feel that I owe. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do too. Thanks for having us and helping promote Dirt Wheels.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV-TALK Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.